Hi, I'm Shannon Alford. My group partner Sarah Smith and I will be presenting on the Past Speaks faculty. This presentation will provide information about the history of faculty in higher education. Highlighted areas will be the 1800s, the 1900s, and present day. In the 1800s, the foundation for curriculum had already been created. Prior to the 1800s, careers in ministry, law, and medicine served as the main options of study in higher education. Morrill Land-Grant Act 1862, 1865, higher education was created due to Civil War, economic development in North, and devastation in the South. Prior to Civil War, agriculture was big. 1890, Morrill Land-Grant Act 2 was created. This act provided funding for school, yet it also gave the opportunity for wealthy white males to advance their education. The differences between faculty and tutors. Tutors were younger, less experienced, and responsible for an entire course. Faculty, on the other hand, were older, assigned specific subjects, and stayed longer. A challenge that presented itself was the tenure of tutors. Lecture, recitations, citations, and examinations were all specifically mentioned in the Yale Report of 1828, Part 1. These modes of instruction are still used today. Important events. The flourishment of research took place during the 1800s. 1869, electives were introduced into the curriculum, Harvard University being one of the first to implement them. In addition, a great example is Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, that was founded in 1873. It was initially founded as a normal school and currently serves as an all-women's college.
Okay. The 1900s, the structure of faculty in the 1900s was brought on by the introduction of specialties, mainly due in part to the rise in science and science research. So now teachers are going to be hired that have a background and an interest in one particular topic. They're allowed to teach those particular classes and not be expected to teach every single course over the course of a curriculum. So this allows them to hone in on their interests and experience and actually led to a more research-based education system. Another significant change in the structure of faculty across the U.S. was the beginnings of a professoriate hierarchy. This just meant that there were different levels of faculty. So now a professor could come in and move up the ranks of professorship from assistant to associate and then full professor. In the 1900s, based off of the structure changes, that led to increases in academic freedom for faculty. So rather than continuing on with the lectures and the recitations, students were able to benefit from more knowledgeable faculty. Faculty were able to put their own unique twist on how they wanted to teach. And there was also a significant increase in professional association memberships, as well as publications throughout this time. And again, this is mostly due to the increase in specializations. So challenges and important events that happened in the 1900s. A few important things that happened in the 1900s were, in 1915, the American Association of University Professors was founded. It was originally intended to be a selective group of professors from the higher echelon universities, and it was founded to provide camaraderie and fraternity, but since it's grown immensely. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Higher Education Act of 1965, the creation of the GI Bill, as well as many other events, all vastly increased enrollment, diversity, and overall access to higher education in the 1900s. So as a direct result, a new need was identified in higher education. So previously, faculty and tutors served as almost a parental role for the students. So they were involved not only in teaching, but also advising, mentoring, and then also living in close proximity to each other. So with such an influx of students in the 1900s, faculty were relieved of their parental duties, and this was done in the student personnel movement. So this movement created non-instructional positions within the institution to help students outside of the classroom. So this created a shift in faculty roles to strictly teaching and research from the more involved responsibilities that they previously held. All right, our modern day faculty. The current structure of our modern day faculty is made up mostly of instructors and faculty. So once specializations were widely accepted, the entire makeup of faculty kind of follows suit. So modern day faculty are doctorate prepared individuals with expertise in specialized fields. Rarely do they teach the gamut of courses. Rather, they teach courses of interest to them that they've researched on and have extensive experience with. At large four-year universities and institutions, the norm shows full-time PhD prepared faculty and a smaller percentage of adjunct or full-time instructors. So instructors are typically master's prepared, and this is almost a complete 180 from the 1800s where the less experienced tutors were the majority. So as a result of the student personnel movement, faculty are now free to not only, or to only be concerned with the curriculum, educational policy, personnel decisions, and selection of academic administrators. So one word sums up the mode of instruction in our current state, and that's freedom. Professors have the freedom to teach what they want in their courses. They have the freedom to hold class face-to-face, online, or a combination. They can choose what types of projects or papers that the students participate in. So they really have a large amount of freedom in how to set up their classes and how to instruct their students. Technology has also drastically changed how classrooms are run. So as technology has increased, students and professors can now be brought together from all different parts of the globe. And those old lectures of just a professor standing in front of a class can now be enhanced with visual PowerPoint presentations. So technology has played a huge role in adjusting the methods of instruction in our modern day. Challenges. Among these three, well, among others, these are three of the big challenges that our current faculty run into. So it's no secret that university funding has been on the decline. Both public and private funding has been decreasing for years. For state-run institutions, a large amount of their budget is based off of state funds. So as they've decreased over the last decade, institutions are limited in many different ways. So things like hiring at market value, retaining good faculty, and their basic daily operations becomes restricted. More and more universities are leaning on tuition dollars for support. So budgetary issues coupled with the declining enrollments really puts higher education systems in a bad spot. Program cuts occur as well as process changes, and these things don't really sit well with faculty on occasion. Additionally, we've seen a large shift in student population, so students are opting for more online options. We have more non-traditional students than ever before. These students bring their own challenges for faculty as well. The last challenge that I want to talk about is accreditation restraints. Higher education institutions, as we all know, have to hold some form of accreditation, and maintaining this accreditation is a point of pride for most universities, but also poses some pretty big issues. A good example of this is, from my perspective, I have a business background, and in my last professional role, we went through an accreditation audit, and so the big the big accreditation body for business schools is AACSB. And when they come in, they require that faculty or anybody who teaches has to fall into one of four basically different buckets or four categories of a professor. So you've got scholarly academic, practice academic, instructional practitioner, and then scholarly practitioner. So if you have academic on the end of your name, that means you have to hold a PhD. If you're a practitioner, then you have to have a master's. And so universities that hold or that have this particular accreditation are limited to the number of faculty members that can fall into each one of those buckets. So just because you have an open position for, I don't know, an accounting faculty member, you can't just go hire a master's prepared instructor because maybe you have already met your quota. So that's one of the big restraints for accreditation, and I can't speak across the board, but for business schools, that is a good example. Additionally, faculty have to meet specific publication and service requirements to maintain their position in that particular category. So along with teaching, faculty now have a higher burden of researching, publishing, and presenting their work. And their tenure and promotion are based off of these items, so there's that added pressure for faculty now as well. Okay, and some additional points that we just wanted to point out were professional development, faculty retention, and then some current issues. So since the 1900s, professional development of faculty has moved from more of a luxury to a necessity. And as research has been published, faculty members are trying to find ways to stay current in their specializations. So they've been attending more meetings, conferences, and presentations. So having access to these types of events and opportunities has become so important in higher education that now most institutions offer up additional benefits for faculty just to give them access to professional development. And those would be things like offering faculty reduced course loads for taking on professional development activities. And additionally, most schools now pay for travel for their faculty members to go to conferences and events to stay current on their specializations. Additionally, retention of good qualified faculty has become an issue. Noted researchers are often poached from institution to institution. Premiums have to be paid to attract and retain good faculty, which is an advantage for faculty members. So new benefits have come out for faculty, such as sabbatical leave, summer research grants, and those types of things that are offered to new faculty as incentives for them to stay at the university.
Current issue in higher education comes from an article from Diverse Education, and I encourage you all to click the link to read it in its entirety. But this article discusses 3 organizations that support faculty speech. They are the American Association of University Professors, American Federation of Teachers, and the Association of American Colleges and Universities. Across the country, faculty has been singled out due to remarks they made or allegedly made in public or online. This serves as a transition to our conclusion and questions for discussion about faculty and freedom of speech. Conclusively, the history of freedom has taught us that higher education was not initially intended for all people. It was through the guidance of elite universities such as Yale and Harvard that set the standard for colleges and universities. In addition, wealthy white men were the first to benefit from higher education, whereas marginalized groups such as women and people of color eventually were given the same educational privilege. Due to the implementation of electives years ago, students today are now able to share in the responsibility of creating their academic career. With budget being an issue in the beginning and currently, it may limit who can obtain a higher education. In many ways, higher education is a reflection of its earlier years. Questions to ponder upon. Do you think faculty members should be reprimanded by their employers for comments they make on their personal social media accounts? Why or why not? And do you think academic freedom doesn't exist in absence of tenure? Why and why not? Thank you.